Python can pick numbers for you. Want Python to surprise you? Let it pick a number. Import the random module to access random functions. Here we will store the random number in this variable. Calling this function picks a random integer. Random numbers are like rolling a dice. Each roll can be different. This says pick a number between 1 and 10. Which numbers do you think will appear? It will pick numbers 1 through to 9, not including 10. Remember, Python's stop number is exclusive. So 10 is excluded. Here we will loop through and produce 5 random numbers. This is a throwaway variable. Underscores are used to indicate we do not want this variable. But underscore is necessary. 4 is a valid variable name. Running this gives us a new number. That's the magic of randomness. Imagine a bag of numbered balls. Every time you reach in, you might pull a different one. That's what randrange function does. Notice 9 is pulled twice randomly. So the numbers, the balls are put back in and you can pick 9 multiple times. Here is another example. You can run this multiple times. It will produce different number every time between 50 and 101. Here is a random dice. Notice here the number 7 is excluded. It will only pick numbers between 1 and 6. If you run this 100 times, number 1 to 6 will appear roughly equally. That's probability. If you run this 100 times, number 1 to 6 will appear roughly equally. Random numbers will let you Python play dice. And you can too. With the power you now have an understanding of randrange function. This is great for games, simulations, or testing. You can visualize it as drawing balls from a bag. Each pick is a surprise. Casting to int whole numbers in Python. Turn things into whole numbers is like pouring 2.8 into a jug that only holds whole units. It will get rid of the decimal part. This is an integer, converting it to int using the int class constructor. Assigns or tags this variable as integer data type. Decimal numbers lose everything after the dot. 0.8 simply disappears. You can convert strings which contain digits only. This will become an integer if it contains digits only. This will not work. This is a string. Running the code will give value error. Invalid literal for int with base 10. Python cannot convert this, but if you remove the quotation marks, but it will. Lose the decimal part after the decimal point. Calling int wraps the original value into the integer type. If you give it a float like 2.8, Python drops the fraction part. It doesn't round the number. It actually truncates it, cuts it off with a scissor. When you pass a string, Python parses string and only succeeds if it strictly digits 4 whole numbers. If there's a dot in the string like this, Python will complain and show error. Make a floating point number in Python. You can convert an integer into a float by using the float class constructor. Running this code, you can see 1 has become 1.0. So it has added the decimal part. A float that is already a decimal, nothing will happen to it. It will continue to stay as a float. A string that looks like a number, in this case the integer 3, but it is wrapped in the quotation marks, is converted into a float successfully. A string that looks like a decimal is also converted successfully into a float. Remember, integer cannot do this. The int function like this cannot achieve the same. It will fail. Invalid literal for int. But the float function is able to achieve this. And then you can wrap this in int to get the integer part. You cannot convert anything that is not a number. This will be bad. Hello cannot be converted into a float. You get value error. Could not convert string to float. Converting to float always produces a decimal form. Even integers become floats. Python does this by parsing the string or reforming the number you give it. If the string doesn't represent a number, it fails with value error. Python can't pour non-numeric words into a numeric container. Make text from anything. str creates a string from existing strings. Here we have an existing string. Running the code, you can see class type is string. Here we have an integer that is being converted into a string. And you can see 2 is the value and it is of type string. Then we have float. This has a decimal point. Converting it to a string keeps the decimal point. But the class type is string. You can convert anything to a string, including a function. As you know, len function gives the size of an object. Just by passing it to the string str function, you can actually get information about this function as a string. Here you see it as a built-in function called len. The class type of this data that you get back is string. It is not the class type of the function. It is the conversion of this len function information that is of type string. Almost all Python objects have a string representation of them. By running the str function, it is basically getting back that information from the function itself. Unlike numeric casts, str doesn't fail. Every object can be printed as text. Python takes the internal representation and wraps it in quotes. So numbers don't change meaning, they just become text. What is a string in Python? Ever wanted Python to talk to you in words, not just numbers? Let's start with strings. A string is text inside quotes. You can use a single quote or a double quote. With print statements, you can see the output of your variables. Text in Python is more than just letters. It's a data type you can use anywhere. Use double quotes when you have a single quote in your text. Here, the sentence "it's fine" has an apostrophe or single quote to represent the shorter version of it is. This will work and print the single quote for you. But this code will not work because you have single quote on the outside and inside. If you run this, you will get an error. Unterminated string literal. Python is getting confused with single quotes. There's 3 lines in Python. Because Python is written in a single letter, you can't print so. To solve this, you add double quote at the beginning and end. If you want a double quote inside, you must then have single quote on the outside like this. And you can see, it has changed to a double quote here, while outside, you have a single quote. Access string characters in Python. Here I have a string variable. It contains the word Python. If I want to access the first character, which is p, I can use the variable name. And then in square brackets, I can access the index number. Strings are index and are 0-based. So the first character is at position 0. You can see at position 0 we have p. You can think of string as a line of letters with numbered boxes. Second letter can be accessed at position 1 of the box. Negative index counts from the end. Last letter is at position -1. Because there is no -0, -1 is the first character from the end. You can grab any letter you want forwards or backwards. Here you can do -2 with which will give you the second to last letter. Running this gives you the letter O. Accessing an index that doesn't exist will give you an error. There is no letter at position 10. I run this, you will get index error. String index out of range. Strings are immutable in Python. Text looks changeable, but in Python it's not. That's a trap beginners hit. Once a string is created, you cannot change any character directly. Here I want to change the character 0 in hello. So that's the first character. Running this will give you error. str, which is string object data type, does not support item assignment. This means you cannot change the string by assigning a new character. Think of strings as like stones, not clay. They cannot be molded into something else. Although you can access characters like this, the first character, the second, and the second to last like this, you cannot use it to reassign or replace a character. Because strings are like stones and not clay. This is how you actually replace a character. You create a brand new string. Here we are reusing the variable and giving it a new string. Reusing variables is allowed. We are basically replacing what the variable points to. Previously it pointed to string hello. Here we are saying add a new string y plus concatenate with the existing string value, which was message variable. Start at position 1, which would be the letter E, and then go all the way to the end, which is up to O, including O. And this will now create a new string. Running this, you can see it has done what we intended. Replace the first character in the string to Y, which makes it yellow rather than hello. So do not try to change string value. You can access the individual parts like this. This is fine, but this is not. So remember, text looks changeable, but in Python it's not. That's a trap that many beginners hit, and you better not be one of them. Slicing strings in Python. You can grab just the part you need over string. No extra letters. Slicing lets you cut a string like a slice of cake. The slicing syntax is start and end position. This gets part over string. You add the variable name in square brackets. You add the starting position. The last position you add the end. You separate the two with a colon. Start index is included in this instance. Position 0, which is P, is included. Fourth position is excluded. So the end index is excluded. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is 0, but it's excluded. You can see here the output we get PyTH, not the letter O. You can leave the end position empty after the colon, and it will go from the start or starting index position to the end of the string automatically. You can also exclude the starting position to begin right at the beginning, and then provide the stop position. In this instance, it will print out to position 0, 1, and 2, excluding the third position itself. This has cut our strings like a cake. Multi-line strings triple quotes explained in Python. Triple quotes preserve actual line breaks. Here you can see I have a line break at line 1, line 2, and over here. Running this, you can see we have line breaks printed out. You can either use double quotes or single quotation. Mark like this, but still have 3 of them. It will also track any indentation. So for example, if I add some indentation here, you will see this line 2 will actually move, and this has moved because I added a tab. But you can also add spaces. You can also use triple quotes to document your functions. Here I am describing what this function does. When you then hover over your function name, you will see the documentation string, which you can manually print out by using the function name underscore underscore doc underscore underscore. Printing this will give you the string that we added within these triple quotes. Python does not clean up indentation inside triple quotes. Every space becomes part of the string. Here at the beginning, if you add a line break, it will actually add line break to the output, but you can move it back to the beginning and the line break disappears. Rather than adding the line break manually with single quotes like this, using triple quotes in this fashion is much easier to read for long text. But if you wanted to do it manually, you can use backslash n to add a line break like this. Multi-line strings behave like normal strings, so you can still do things like get the length of the string and convert them to uppercase. In this case, the length is 11, which includes 1 character for the line break. And you can convert them to uppercase by using the upper function, and you get the output like this.